Stress. These days, everybody's talking about it, as they should. Stress has many faces and is associated with many deathly conditions, such as heart attacks and dementia. In our world, where things are getting quicker and faster and our work invades our homes in many different ways, in a world where we can't even turn off our work phones, stress and its consequences are really important. Did you know that in developed countries, even controlling for access to healthcare, poor people have a lower life expectancy than the wealthy? This is shocking, and some authors attribute it to the negative consequences of chronic stress. However, stress, as most biological and psychological concepts, is nuanced, and in practice, stress is not only important but necessary for every organism's survival. In this video, I will show you what stress really is. Honestly, I have not found any other video that used the concept of allostasis to explain and understand stress. So I'll do that here. And while understanding what stress is really important to effectively deal with it, my goal, besides teaching you, is showing you some specific strategies to improve your relation to stress. I really hope this video can help in some way while teaching you something new about stress. This is the psychology of everything. So, to understand stress, arguably one of the biggest diseases of our time, you first need to understand homeostasis. Etymologically, homeostasis means staying the same. This concept refers to a constant state of optimal internal conditions maintained by organisms. These may include variables such as blood pressure, temperature, blood oxygen levels, etc. These ideal conditions allow the organisms, take a human for example, to repair tissue, digest food, basically improve the general health of the organism. This is a good thing. However, there are obvious variations in these internal conditions, but as long as they stay in a preset range, the person survives. This is called the homeostatic range. So, ideally, we would always be in the center, and the closer we get to the edges, the worse it is for our health. Take temperature for example. 36 degrees Celsius is ideal. 38-39 is not great, but it is livable. 41 to 42 degrees starts getting very worrisome and not sustainable, so you get the gist of it. Okay, so this is very basically homeostasis. But what about allostasis? Okay, so first their etymological difference. Allo instead of homeo means other, and stasis means standing still. So allostasis means staying the same through change. Let's continue with the previous example. Remember that the goal of homeostatic processes is to ensure or maximize the chances of survival of a given organism, and that is achieved by staying as close to the center of ideal conditions as possible. Well, most of the time. What the concept of allostasis describes is that the organism needs to change its internal state to respond to the external environment. So, imagine that you are walking calmly in a forest, breathing in and out. You have a comfortable 60 heartbeats per minute. However, all of a sudden, a dangerous predator appears. What maximizes your chances of survival in that situation is not staying the same. It is changing your internal state to release epinephrine to increase your heart rate and glucocorticoids. You need to stop long-term projects such as tissue repair, hair growth, and digestion. You don't need your ability to reason or to think abstractly. You need to focus and run or fight. This is what allostasis means. Sometimes it's okay to deviate from the ideal conditions in order to respond to contextual threats. However, this comes at a cost, and that is called allostatic load. This load refers to the amount of wear and tear placed on the organism for deviating from its ideal homeostatic conditions. If this is a rapid occurrence and deviation and quickly returns to the ideal point, that's fine. Important processes restart quickly. However, if the deviation is prolonged, the consequences are serious. You know where I'm going with this, right? Allostasis equals stress, and allostatic load has been used as a framework to study the long-term consequences of stress. But let's use a more obvious example. Imagine you have an important assignment to deliver tomorrow. It is normal if you feel stress. That stress provides you the tools to complete the assignment. Your heartbeat increases, you feel in the zone. That is fine. That is acute stress or good stress. It is adaptive, and due to the small amount of its duration, the allostatic load and negative consequences are minimal. However, if there was a month left to the deadline and you were constantly stressed about it, the negative consequences of stress would accumulate, and sadly, this is the place where a lot of people find themselves. Whether because they can't turn off their company phones, they are overworked, or feel incapable of dealing with what is constantly asked of them. The like button in this video gets really stressed out when it's not pressed, and I wouldn't want him to get chronic stress or a lot of allostatic load during his life, so if you're enjoying this video, just press the like button just to help him out, okay? Remember the predator example I gave? It is not an exaggeration to compare a highly stressful assignment to that. Biologically, the difference is not that big. Stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, which colloquially people refer to as the fight or flight system. It prepares you to act in high-stakes situations. So I really need you to understand that all stress is not bad. In fact, it helps you respond to your daily challenges. But if it is constant, it could be very detrimental. So what exactly is the allostatic load of stress? What are its long-term negative consequences? Well, just consider this in light of what we mentioned before. Good stress momentarily heightens your heart rate and blood pressure, and obviously, in the long run, bad stress is responsible for numerous heart-related diseases. Good stress helps you focus in the moment. However, in the long run, it harms the prefrontal cortex, which can lead to impaired working memory and less ability to shift focus between tasks, risk assessment, and thinking abstractly. Finally, good stress is dependent on the amygdala's functioning, responsible for your fear response. However, in the long run, it makes the amygdala more excitable, making it easier for you to be scared. This makes stress a cycle, because the more stressed you are, easier it is for you to be stressed. That's sad. So this begs the question, what can I do? But before going into that, I want you to keep some important things in your mind. First, stress is not inherently bad. It invokes resources for you to deal with specific situations. However, in the long term, it can be harmful. Second, if you experience prolonged stress, it has a toll on your body, and I'm sure your mental well-being. It is important to do something about it as soon as possible. Third, well, I'm kidding, there's no third, people just usually speak in three, so let's get to it. So first, take deep breaths. Yep, pretty basic. Inspire and exhale through the nose just 10 times. It's normal if you feel your heart pumping quickly when you start. It was already doing that, you just weren't noticing it. Why this works is very intuitive. Your body is constantly monitoring its state to assess what is needed. And if you forcibly slow down your breath, it tells your body to relax and that everything is okay. It basically activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And I know this is pretty basic and won't solve your problems, and this won't reduce the amount of times you feel stress, only the duration of your incidents. However, considering this is a pretty simple thing to do, its efficacy-difficulty ratio is pretty good, so this is a good one to start off with. Yet, this is an intervention that occurs after you are stressed, and research shows that prevention is more efficacious than treatment. I'll call this one reappraisal. You'll see why. A very interesting study showed that only reappraising the physiological arousal caused by stress could improve cardiac efficiency and lower vascular resistance. Basically, the authors, before stressing people out, told half of the participants that stress is good and that the bodily activation is adaptive and all of those things we already talked about. And those people showed better heart measures. This study is not the only one to do something like this. Other studies show that before doing an important task, if you believe you have the ability to deal with it, it will be perceived as a challenge instead of a threat, and your heart functioning will do the same as in the previous study, more efficient and reduced blood pressure. This is really important. What can we take away from these studies? Your beliefs matter, whether they are about stress or your own ability to deal with the situation. So, just by watching this video and from here on out, reappraising momentary stress as a positive and a sign that you are ready to act instead of fearing it is already a big step. Secondly, just take a moment to consider your strengths and know that you are able to deal effectively with the challenges that you face. Indeed, see them as challenges and not threats. Reappraise the situation and remember your past successes and not just your failures. Well, I think reappraisal is not as simple as just breathing, but with a bit of effort and just remembering this video will help, so yeah. Another strategy is to just reduce the amount of stressors you face. Just turn your damn phone off. I know this may not be possible in every situation and every case, but just realize that stress is caused by stressors. And while these can be just imagined, there are some things you just need to say no to. It is okay not to be able to do everything, and it is better to say that and protect your long-term health than tack on more than you feel you can chew. So yeah, this is a basic one, but this is really hard. This requires people to put their health first, and that's not super easy and not something that happens all the time. So I'll give it a medium-high difficulty rating because it may not always be possible, and a very high efficacy rating because removing stressors is just very effective at reducing stress. So a complement to this, plan out your time or make checklists that will allow you to visualize what you have to do. I could recommend apps and all that, but you can just use a sheet of paper. If you are not used to planning, just make a list of what you have to do. If you already do that, allocate the amount of time for each task and, super importantly, break the task in small fragments. This helps you with motivation, stress, and avoiding procrastination. Track your progress and decide when you will do your tasks. Set goals and prioritize. Don't forget to plan time to rest. You are not a machine. And don't make the biggest and most common mistake people do when making plans. Do you know what it is? Well, people overestimate their ability to do stuff. Actually, when planning, people assume everything will go smoothly and great, which is never the case. Plan for failure and allocate 20% more time to each task than you thought you would take. And it's okay if you can't get it right from the start. Planning is also a skill that gets better with practice. I'm still working on it myself. This is a hard one, but can yield pretty good results. Now, a very straightforward one. Exercise. Something like just taking a walk or going for a run is ideal, especially if it interrupts the exposure to the stressor. The recommendations are of about 20 minutes a day of moderate exercise, a walk, or 10 minutes of vigorous exercise. Oh, and if you can do this near some kind of nature, even better. Trees are good for stress. So, due to the effort and need of consistency to see good results, I will say that this one is average. But if you have nature near you, the results would be even better. Now, going back to the first one, instead of just breathing, you could try mindfulness. Numerous studies show mindfulness having a positive impact in reducing the harmful consequences of stress. I know this concept may seem a bit scary or complicated, but basically you just need to breathe and focus on your bodily sensations, whether on your breath itself or on auditory stimuli. And every time a thought comes to your mind, you just try to set it aside and refocus on the present moment. This not only activates your parasympathetic nervous system, diminishing the stress response through the breath, but it helps develop the ability to choose what to think about and to reduce invasive thoughts. Honestly, there are apps and structured practices, websites and videos that can help. However, if you feel overwhelmed by that, just start. Sit down, relax, close your eyes, breathe, and focus on it. It is better, much better than nothing, and over the long term, it is very effective at reducing stress. However, starting and sticking to it may be hard. And so, one more. Ask for help. Being alone never helps, and there are people around you that can. And just talking about your problems may help putting them into perspective. Asking for help is not hard and can have great consequences. Well, it can be hard. Additionally, you could consider therapy. A profession can certainly help you reduce your bad stress and understand where it is coming from. Of course, there is a monetary barrier to entry, but there are online resources that greatly reduce that cost. Therapy is the most efficacious solution, without a doubt. But obviously there are costs associated with it. So I really hope this was helpful. Now you understand a little bit better what stress is, and that in many respects it is a tool in your favor. Learn how to use it. Prioritize your health. It is the most important thing that you have, and nothing and anyone has the right to destroy it. Not even yourself. I mean, you have the right to destroy it, but probably you don't want that. Now you have a range of knowledge about tools and strategies to reduce your bad stress. Some of them, like literally breathing, are easy and you can start right now. But this is not enough. If you do not prioritize your well-being and find ways to protect yourself, investing in some harder strategies, very little will change. If there is one thing I would want you to take away from this, is that you can do it. It takes some effort and dedication, but the reward is great. Now you have the knowledge and you always had the power to reduce the stress in your life. So go right ahead and good luck. By the way, I will leave some relaxing music or sound here at the end while you ponder what to do. And if you want to watch another video while you take deep breaths, that's really cool. Bye.